Hello, Starseeds. Welcome to Starseed Energetics. My name is Ashtara Mission to bring you some of the highest frequency content. And in this audio only transmission, I want to talk about Meta-Affirmations, which is a term that I've kind of coined to refer to specific ways of rewiring your neural networks to resonate in a certain frequency, a bandwidth of frequency that is much more cooperative to a conducive environment that is in alignment with your desired reality, basically. So we all know affirmations really work. Subliminals really work. They are practiced by some of the most successful individuals when it comes to creating their reality. But obviously, for some people, it doesn't work well. And there could be tons of reasons for that. But a good chunk of the reason why it may not work for some people is the quality of the affirmations that are being used are not very effective. And a good example can be, I love and accept myself. I mean, that's a very cliche affirmation. And that can be very effective for someone if that is in total alignment already with the majority of that person's field already. But what to do if you're not already in total alignment with that belief system? Then you need a higher level, a higher clearance, a more effective affirmation that holds multiplications of the potency of a regular affirmation. So words are very powerful anchors into specific frequencies. So the first thing you want to kind of avoid if you're looking for a very high potency affirmation is to find affirmations that are not massively adopted or that are not being spoken by too many people. And perhaps affirmations worked well for people, even the cliche ones now. It may have worked well for people way back in the day when affirmations were not very popular, when there was not as much of a morphogenetic grid around it. So to explain what morphogenetic grids are, this is basically a shared collective field in which information and frequency is exchanged by a species. So birds will have their own morphogenetic grid, dolphins will have their own morphogenetic field, flowers will have a morphogenetic field, and beings or energetic beings resonate with multiple different morphogenetic fields. So for example, if you're a starseed, you're resonating in the morphogenetic field of, say, being a human, and then you have a morphogenetic field of this specific Earth, you have a morphogenetic field of this specific solar system, you have a morphogenetic field of whatever your galactic family is. So say you're a Pleiadian starseed, then you're also resonating on another level out of Pleiadian starseed morphogenetic field, so on and so forth. And of course, whatever your gender and race is, whatever your nationality, even if you don't really identify with your nationality, say I'm born in Seoul, South Korea, so I have a Korean morphogenetic field, but I grew up also majority of my adolescence in Canada, so I have a Canadian morphogenetic field. Now I'm living in Bali, so I have an Indonesian morphogenetic field, so on and so forth. You can apply that to yourself. So basically, wherever archetype and category that you fall into, you hold a morphogenetic grid. And every kind of frequency construct has a morphogenetic field in which it falls under. And there's layers and layers and layers to this. So if you think about it, say you're trying to recite a specific affirmation, that specific phrase or even mantras, and why mantras even work is because there is a morphogenetic grid around that specific vibratory complex of those words. Especially if that statement is repeated over and over and over again. So the mantra of Om or other mantras that are very popular have a morphogenetic grid around that phrase, and usually what really assists somebody is the potency of how many devoted individuals have programmed that specific phrase with heartfelt intentions. So this is where things can go left or right, like right or wrong, is that if a mantra or affirmation is too popular, then it's already been infiltrated by a group of people who are not of the highest alignment, or maybe they may have used this specific phrase not for the highest good, not because they're trying to, but just because that's where they are at in their evolution. This is why you want to find a phrase that can be very authentically downloaded from your being, that is coining together words and phrases that are not massively adopted, or you could find this from any other source of information that you know is not very well adopted by mass groups of people. And another aspect to this is this: you have to think about your mental constructs as programming. If you ever learn about computer programming and how you program a software, if you happen to be in the computer science field, then you'll have a better idea of this. Or it could even be like architecture. Let's say, I'll give 2 examples. So when it comes to, say, we'll start with architecture because it's more relatable to more people. There's building blocks, there's foundations, and there's the framework of the building, and then you continue to build on top of that to the minute details of the windows and the little materials and the wallpaper, and that's the finishing of the whole building. But first and foremost, it starts with the very building blocks, and then it actually starts with the land of where it's at, and then there's a nature around it or the environment around it. So specific affirmations that are mostly widely adopted, the ones that are super cliche, or the ones that are mostly found on YouTube affirmation videos, or just shifting the wallpaper, or it's like changing or renovating the countertop, or it's changing the windowsill. It's very minute details that are being changed with these affirmations that are widely adopted. When you learn to utilize these meta-affirmations that I'm suggesting, it's quite literally either changing the core building blocks, or actually, when it's a high-level meta-affirmation, as I will introduce, it's quite literally changing the parallel universe in which the building is at. It's not even dealing with the building. It's like transporting that entire building structure onto, say, from Earth to Venus. Imagine you can have the exact same architecture, but it just goes into another dimension. So yes, words have a power to put together different anchors of frequency. Every single word is quite literally a vortex or a portal into a specific bandwidth. And even though we have a certain limited amount of words, if you put them together, gather them together in a specific, in a very scientifically aligned way, you have the ability to totally shift the bandwidth in which your cognitive ability is even able to process whatever this affirmation is. So when it comes to computer programming, it's like you start with the function, the parameter, and then you go into the nitty-gritty details of the code. But at first, the first few lines of the computer programming, the whole overarching system, is quite literally to define the actual function and the parameters in which those smaller details take place. So whereas a lot of the mass adopted affirmations are dealing with the small details, meta-affirmations will be changing the entire parameter or changing the entire function in which the program is run. That changes the entire software. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of this. So one key is to find specific words, even just one word that has an entire otherworldly dimension to that specific word, but hasn't been mass adopted. So this is if you're like deep into the esoteric fields and whatnot, you know these specific words. Because I love you and you're my family, I'm going to share some of mine. One of the highest level function performing affirmation for me personally, and that specific word is I am Atmanam. And Atmanam is a state of complete total enlightenment. It is very niche. And I found this word through reading the works of Kapil Gupta. And if I just say I am Atmanim, I'm in a different reality, no matter whatever I'm dealing with at the moment. It just transports me into this whole other bandwidth of knowing and frequency and information that is associated with that word that hasn't been diluted by the mass. It is a reference to a complete otherworldly way of thinking and feeling. Words are very diluted. For example, say the word love. You can say I am love. And of course that is an amazing affirmation. But the problem is, even though love is very high frequency, there's so many distortions to the word love because everything in the world talks about love and it's usually not pure. So if you want to utilize the word love or light or beauty or any other thing that can be distorted, you can always take it to a next level, next octave pitch by adding specific words that totally balance it, like divine or pure. So you can say I am divine love or I am pure love, and it totally changes the frequency of that word love because it's only pointing to the highest aspects of that word that has been mass adopted. And because words are so powerful and because concepts are so diluted, this is how I like to work with energy when I'm invoking. So if you ever see me doing energy activations as well, and I'm invoking specific beings, for example, say I'm invoking archangels or galactic teams, I always say invoking the galactic teams of the purest frequency, invoking Archangel Michael of the purest template, because there's always fallen templates that people dilute it with. This is how I really make sure to invoke the purest aspect of a concept, of a being, of a word, of a frequency. Okay. Next thing is to conceptualize your limited notion of thinking that will expand it right away to the next octave. So this is an example of when you put together concepts that are complex algebra that directly lead into a portal of perceiving reality in a different way. So this affirmation is one that I've personally created, and it's one of my favorites. Whenever I invoke this, I get transported to a different state. Is my spine is a living rod of alchemy. My spine is a living rod of alchemy. My spine is a living rod of alchemy. And if you say this a few times to yourself, you realize how powerful this is, not only because it's a very high level truth and it is affirmative to a higher level of reality, but at the same time, it's not being used by anyone, well, except for us now. And it helps you remember the divinity of your existence at the same time, like instantaneously. So this is what I mean by putting together phrases and concepts that are a portal in itself to a higher bandwidth. And so in this way, not only is this affirmation changing your reality, but it's totally changing the landscape or the consciousness land which you are basing and focusing your attention on. Like your attention totally transports into a metaphysical, magical reality that is directly connected with your physical level of being. Not only is it pointing to the divine truth of the metaphysical realm, but it's also anchoring this back to your physical being of the spine. The qualities of these meta-affirmations have a nature in such that you can affirm a parameter in which your belief systems or your programming into the nature of your reality, so that the smaller details will automatically reshuffle and take care of themselves. So this is exactly what I mean by saying when I'm talking about computer programming and there's little details or codes of lines of codes that determine the specific program versus you can change the entire function or the parameter of the program. Meta-affirmations can actually change the nature in which your reality functions so that you don't have to change the surface details of how you as a linear self operates. It's changing the metaphysical qualities of the universe in which you're inhabiting. So when you say these specific things or affirm these specific things about reality, which is impersonal, so it's way more believable as well, the smaller details of what you want to manifest will also change. So I'll give you an example. I live in a supportive universe. I live in a supportive universe. I live in a supportive universe. So this simple phrase, not only is it not used by most people because they don't really think about affirming the nature of the universe itself, which you really can. You can choose to inhabit a specific universe in the multiple infinite parallel realities of the universes that exist in the multiverse. You can affirm your existence in a specific universe. You can choose to inhabit the universe that is completely supportive of all of your desires, right? So in this way, you're effectively targeting every other beliefs that are underneath that parameter. And you choose to live in a universe that supports all of your desires, and all of your desires are basically supported and you can fulfill them with ease and grace instead of needing to minutely pinpoint everything that you want to make happen. So obviously, if it feels good to you, you can go deeper and specify specific things. But if you just say, I live in a supportive universe, that's overall going to cover a lot of details that you don't have to nitpick. And if you have come this far in the transmission, I'm sure you're curious about many different examples. So I've actually created 144 meta-affirmations that you can use. That is probably some of the most powerful affirmations that you can use. And you can download this PDF if you sign up for my mailing list. And yeah, this is my love for you and to you. It's a gift. I hope you enjoy it. You can try this. I would say try reciting these affirmations. Even you can pick and choose every single day and recite these and see how they totally shift your frequency. Try to use at least a few of these every single day. You can choose your favorite and recite it every single day, or you can do all 144 and use it for the next few months and see how they totally shift you. And the best part about it is I'm going to be releasing an 8-hour subliminal that you can sleep to, because listening to affirmations on a subliminal level is one of the most powerful ways to work with affirmations. And obviously you can do both, where you sleep with this and you can play it in the background when you are cleaning your house or exercising. And then you can also say them consciously and it'll just be double the effectiveness. So I hope you enjoy the PDF and all of my examples that you can have in a really nice little sheet. And I hope you enjoy the affirmation track when it comes out. Sending lots and lots of love. Hope you have fun with this, and I'll see you in the next transmission.